In this video presentation, I will be speaking about Kiki Smith. Kiki Smith's Lying with the Wolf and the Baptistery of St. Louis by Mohammed Ibn Alzain. First off, some background on Kiki Smith. Kiki Smith is an American artist who was born in Nuremberg, Germany on January 18, 1954, and is now 66 years old. Her parents are named Tony Smith and Jane Lawrence, and her parents were also already quite established in the art world when she was born, so Kiki Smith got off to a good start. She got her education from Columbia High School, and she is mainly now known for printmaking, sculptures, and drawing. Her work falls into the period of contemporary art, and her works are on view at the Detroit Institute of Art's Museum of Applied Arts, San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, and the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Her work often addresses the themes of sex, birth, and regeneration, and usually include a female protagonist. In the late 1980s and early 90s, her work confronted subjects such as AIDS and gender. In more recent works, there have been many depictions of the human relationship with nature. The piece by Kiki Smith that I'm going to be talking about today is called Lying with the Wolf, which is image number 242 out of the required images. Lying with the Wolf was made in 2001 with ink and pencil on paper and is 88 by 73 inches in size. In regards to form, this work is very delicate as it was done on paper, and it is also very large in size. This work is part of a short series of artworks that were done in between 2000 and 2002. The series illustrated women's relationships with animals, and I'm going to be showing you some of the works that she did as part of that series during that time period. This first piece of work is called The Pool of Tears, and it was done in 2000. This second example is called Born, and it was done in 2002. This example is called Genevieve and the May Wolf, and it was done in 2002. And the last example I'm going to give is called Rapture, and it was also done in 2002. This work is very flat with little to no depth. In regards to function, this piece, along with the other pieces that she made during this time period, show the relationship between humans, specifically women, and animals that are not domesticated, and she depicted them in a very different manner, as they're not depicted as predator and prey, but rather with a deep love for each other and connection with each other. While doing this, she also takes some feminist approaches to the narrative. In relation to content, this work depicts a female nude who is reclining intimately alongside a wolf who is also laying down. The piece shows a significant bonding between the human and animal. The woman has her arms wrapped around the wolf. There's not much else to talk about visually regarding this work besides that, because it looks quite simple on a surface level. However, in regards to content, the act of bonding between human and animal speaks towards Smith's great fascination with the natural world, as well as her interests in religious narratives and mythology, the history of figuration in Western art, and contemporary notions of feminine domesticity, spiritual yearning, and sexual identity. Another notable work by Kiki Smith is called Moment B. This work was made in 2006 with lithograph, watercolor, and press leaves. This work is quite typical for Kiki Smith because it is another work with a feminist viewpoint. This piece falls into the category of contemporary art. This piece also touches on the subject of a woman's intimate relationship with nature as well as the natural world as a whole, so it is very similar to Lying with the Wolf. Another notable piece of artwork by Kiki Smith is called My Blue Lake. This piece is a hand-colored photogravure, which is an image produced from a photographic negative transferred to a metal plate and etched in. This piece is also a lithograph, and it was made in 1995. It depicts a human face and torso as well as a map with topographical features. Topographical features refers to the accurate representation of the physical features of an area. In this case, it was the physical features of an area on the face. It was one of the several pieces created during the 1990s that was aimed at changing how women were usually depicted in art prior, which was usually grossly over-sexualized. This is very on-brand and typical for Kiki Smith to speak up about, because the function of this work takes place from a feminist viewpoint. Now I will be talking about the Baptistery of St. Louis, which is image number 188 out of the required images. The The Baptistery of St. Louis was made by Mohammed ibn al-Zayn, made with brass inlaid with gold and silver. It was made in 1320 to 1340 and has a height of about 22 centimeters and a diameter of about 50 centimeters. In regards to form, this piece is a three-dimensional bowl with a top part that extends out. Every part of the exterior is carved with very thin lines. The only part that isn't carved is the interior few inches of the bowl near the bottom. In regards to function, this piece was originally made so that Mamluk people could use this bowl to wash or purify themselves prior to a ceremony. Later on, the bowl ended up with French people, and they would use the bowl to baptize the royal children. It is still a mystery and unknown how the bowl got to France. In regards to content, the carvings on the bowl show scenes of people hunting alternating with battle scenes along the side. The scenes show Mamluk hunters and Mongol enemies, which helps to capture the conflict in between these two groups. The bottom of the bowl is decorated with animals that you could find in water, such as fish, eels, crabs, frogs, and crocodiles. It also depicts scenes from the Mamluk court, especially people wearing clothing characteristic of their status and bearing symbols of their rank. There are also two rulers on either side of the bowl. The figures in between them seem to be either hunting or fighting. You can also see scenes of violence because you can see limbs and a decapitated head. In regards to context, this piece was made under the Mamluk Empire, which you've heard me speak about before. The Mamluks had a lot in common with the Mongols. They ruled in countries that we today know as Syria and Egypt. The Mamluks were formed in 1250 and lasted until 1517, and the Mamluk rule is commonly broken into two time periods, one being 1250 to 1382, and the other being 1382 to 1517. The patron of this piece was most likely a wealthy Mamluk person. As I mentioned before, this piece includes inlaid gold and silver. This shows the item's significance because people at this time especially valued the inlaying of metals because it was very difficult to do, and also very expensive materials were used to show wealth. Both the Baptistery of St. Louis by Mohammed ibn al-Zayn and Lying with the Wolf by Kiki Smith share something significant in common because they both depict a human relationship with animals. In the Baptistery of St. Louis, we see a depiction of humans' relationship with animals because there are depictions of men on horsebacks, and there's also an emphasis towards animals in the natural world and naturalism because there's eels in silver at the bottom of the bowl, as well as a continuous band of animals that parade around the inner wall of the bowl. In Lying with the Wolf by Kiki Smith, there is an obvious depiction of the connection between human and animal because the woman and the wolf are lying down together with the woman's arms wrapped around the wolf. The woman is also naked, which conveys naturalism, which, as I mentioned before, is also something we see in the Baptistery of St. Louis. That will conclude my presentation on Lying with the Wolf by Kiki Smith and the Baptistery of St. Louis by Mohammed ibn al-Zayn, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.